check.
Shabbat Shalom, hello. Happy Shabbat to you. It is April Fool's Day. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. You should love your neighbor as you love yourself. From the book of Leviticus, which we are going to near shortly. So yes, those are nice T-shirts. You too can own one, if you'd like. Yeah, I do not think we are sold out. Last night. Last night was the first inaugural Pride Shabbat at the JCC, and so we went. We were one of the participants. There were about 150 people there, and we had shirts made. We had like CBI shirts made with our logo on it, so that people would see that we were supporting the special Shabbat. And it was the first inaugural. I imagine it's going to grow from there. We are hoping that it'll be a second and a third and a fifth and a 12th inaugural for the special. Yeah, about 8 people or so, or 8 people. But we did that. Then we did that second service last night. I think we're not going to do that next year. I think next year for the second inaugural Pride Shabbat, Shabbat's going to be that Shabbat. So, probably. Yeah. Well, it is because it's only the second. It's the second inaugural annual. I think isn't that what you call it? Because it's the. I know inaugural is the first one. It's the second inaugural, celebrating the anniversary of the first inaugural annual. That's what we're going to do. I figured out what we're going to call it. We're going to call it the anniversary of the inaugural. That's what we're going to do. That was amazing. Oh yeah, okay, Shabbat. Let's hello friends, hello on our live stream. We think it's working. The lights look pretty, so we're hoping it's on. Hope that you had a beautiful start to Shabbat, and we are going to dive in to Modeh Ani 170.
Modeh Ani lefanecha, Melecha evekayam, shechezarta binishmati bechemla, rabba emunatecha. Modeh Ani lefanecha, Melecha evekaya, shechezarta binishmati bechemla, rabba emunatecha. Rabba emunatecha.
We continue now on page 183. 183 with Psukei de Zimra.
Baruch she'amar ve'ha'olam.
Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu Sevreshit.
Baruch Omer ve'oseh.
Baruch Gozer Kayem.
Baruch Merachem al haaretz.
Baruch Merachem al habriyot.
Baruch Meshalem Sechar Tov l'Reyav.
Baruch Chayla al v'kayam l'netzach.
Baruch Podeh Matzil Baruch Shemo.
Blessed is the one who spoke and the world came to be.
Blessed is the one.
Blessed is the one who continually authors creation. Blessed is the one who decrees and fulfills.
Blessed is the one.
Blessed is the one who is compassionate towards all creatures. Blessed is the one who exists for all time, ever enduring.
Blessed is God. Blessed is God's name.
Baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal batishbachot.
We continue Shochen Ad 192.
שוכנן מרום וקדוש שמו, וכתוב רננו צדיקים אדוני, לישרים נאווה תהילה. בפי ישרים תתהלל, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יתפאר שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות, אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך מלכי העולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם, בעולמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולמי המאיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעולמה, ואמרו Amen.
We continue with the Baruch Hu, page 195, and together we stand.
Lai la lai 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 lai. Lai la lai 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 lai. Lai la lai 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 la lai 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 lai. Lai la lai 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 lai. Lai la lai 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 lai. Lai la lai 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 lai. Lai la lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'en. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'en.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or vorech choshech, oseh shalom uvoreh et hakol. Please be seated. We continue on page 199. In that indented paragraph, let's read that together in the English. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel, who joyfully we remember the dawn of Israel's life, would turn to you and find purpose. Baruch atah Adonai, abocher ba'amo Yisrael be'ahava. 200.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta 201.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
202.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בציר תכלת. והיה לכם לציצית, וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem emet. Our song of redemption, Micha Mocha 204.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, שירה חדשה שמחו גאולים, לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ואין. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, רפתיכנו מך, יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Amidah, we continue now on page 205.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips and my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Ha'hibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh HaKol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei bneihem, Leman Shemo me'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ezrat Sarah, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומורינה כהשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לה, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol
Kedusha continues 208.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, הכתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד כל לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד כל לך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גולך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גולך. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We take time now for our own silent prayers, thoughts, and meditations, beginning here on page 210 through page 219. When you're finished, please be seated.
Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen, amen. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen.
We continue now with Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for reading the Torah on this Shabbat morning, which can be found on page 244.
Ein kamocha va'elohim Adonai ve'kemaasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim umemshaltecha bechol dor v'hador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai himloch le'olam ha'ed. Adonai oz le'amo yitein. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Av harachamim heitiva v'tzoncha et Zion. Timneh chomot Yerushalayim, ki v'chal levad batachnu, melech el benisa Adon olamim.
Page 246.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udvar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael, b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlul Adonai iti, uneram Shemo yachtav. Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'agedura ve'atiferet ve'anetzach ve'ahod. כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, לך אדוני הממלכה והמתנשא לכל ראש. רוממו, רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו, והשתחוו לדום רגליו קדוש הוא. רוממו, רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו, והשתחוו להר קודשו, כי קדוש, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו.
Please be seated. We are in the Torah portion of Tzav this morning. Tzav, that is Leviticus 6. Leviticus chapter 6. Tzav. We should hear the word mitzvah in Tzav. If you add a mem and a hey at the end, it sounds like mitzvah. But also Tzav, not spelled this way, means turtle in Hebrew. Tzav with a vav.
Things that you learn here.
See that? Tzav with a vav has mitzvah in it. Tzav with a bet means turtle. Turtle. Different spellings, but sounds the same. What are those called? Homonyms? Are those called homonyms? Homonymina. What's it called when it's the... Right, it's the homonym? I knew you know, right? It's a, yeah. It's where they sound the same, but they're spelled differently. Different meanings, yeah. Because Tav has... What's that? Homophone. Oh, I don't know. That's why you're here, Linda. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. 6.
So, 9 o'clock.
Chapter 6. In Leviticus. Third book. Third book of the Torah, second portion in. Third book, second portion. Also known as Tzav. Spelled Tzadi Vav. But Tzadi Bet, again, means turtle. Just as a side note. I just want to make that. I think about it every time I think of a turtle, every time. There's nothing I can do. I don't know. You're wondering to yourself, why is he telling us this? Both of you, many people are probably wondering. Like, why is this important?
It's not that why you're telling us this. It's why are you still talking about it?
It's interesting. I think it's fun. I think of the turtle every time. I don't know, like a little turtle walking towards the commandments. Anyone want to do the Aliyah for us this morning? Anyone Aliyah-ish? Are you feeling you want to do it? All right, Katja, please. Oh, that's nice. Oh, how old?
28.
28. All right. 250. 250 are here. What's your Hebrew name?
Chava Asher.
Tamod Chava Shera Bat Avraham Vasaraya Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher B'harmanu B'kol Ha'amim V'atanu Lanu Et Torah. Baruch Ata Adonai Notena Torah.
Amen.
Amen. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, צו את אהרון ואת בניו לאמור, זאת תורת העולה, היא העולה לעל. מוקדל המזבח כל הלילה עד הבוקר, ואש המזבח תוקד בו, ולבש הכהן מדובד, ומכנסי בד, ילבש על בשרו, והדרים את הדשן אשר תאכל האש, את העולה על המזבח, ושמו את על המזבח, ופשט את בגדיו ולבש בגדים אחרים והוציא את הדשן אל מחוץ למחנה אל מקום טהור והאש על המזבח תוקד בו לא תכבה וביער עליה הכהן עצים בבוקר וערך עליה העולה והקטיר עליה חלבי השלמים אש תמיד תוקד על המזבח לא תכבה
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בדרכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן תורה.
Amen, amen, amen.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom. יישר כוח. So let's raise and dress our Torah. We're on the bottom of page 252. Who's going to raise and dress for us today? We have a trio. We have a duo. Everyone's coming. What's the usual crew? All right, 252. We're please stand. Zot HaTorah אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל
על פי אדוני
ויד משה
תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה.
Please be seated. Yeah, that was like 7 columns today. That was.
Now it becomes a competition.
You got 8 last week? Wow. I'm going to have my Wheaties. That's true. I can't have Wheaties next Shabbat. That's true. I can have the Passover Wheaties. You know those? Have you had the Passover cereal? It's called the Air. Where you spend $11.50 for a box of cereal and you get 4 flakes in there. But the kosher for Passover, so it's really delicious. Those bags are amazing. The box looks like the regular box of cereal. If you haven't had it, and then you get the bag, and the bag is like this big, and in the bag there are like this many things. But at least it was $11.50 for cereal. So, but it's kosher. And the bonus is, by the way, my favorite part about it all, it is really expensive. You get a very small bag. You don't get anything for your value, but at least it tastes really terrible. So that's the bonus of Passover cereal. I know. And I still buy a box or 2 every year to think to myself, maybe this year they figured it out, and I still know. If you buy the chocolate ones, though, and you let it sit in the milk for 30 or 40 minutes, then it tastes less bad. So, yeah. All right, we're on Tzav. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but Tzav means has the root of mitzvah. But if you change the letter, it means turtle. Have I mentioned that to you? Have I mentioned that to you this Shabbat morning yet? Have I mentioned it? You have a microphone now, so tell me more. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's do our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. You heard the word v'tzivanu, right? So there's the tzav in it. That's the structure. I'm not talking about turtles anymore. So, but it's the same shoresh. So which has that word of this command. So we'll talk about this command in a second, actually. Go ahead, please. If you don't mind, take it away. We're on 6:1.
The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, "Command Aaron and his sons thus. This is the ritual of the burnt offering. The burnt offering itself shall remain where it is burned upon the altar all night until morning, while the fire on the altar is kept going."
Okay, thank you. So, all right, what's happening so far? Let's dissect this section. Okay, great. So there's a barbecue. So we start last week with barbecue, and we're all going to have really for the entire rest of the book is barbecue, right? It's all going to be different animals, different structures, different times you bring them. All of that ultimately turns into what, by the way? What does all this turn into eventually after the Second Temple falls? Well, laws for sure. Well, yes, but I'm saying all the way until the Second Temple falls. Prayers, thank you. Excellent. So the structure of it's very good. So the structure of this will eventually turn into the structure of prayer because we no longer sacrifice things, right? Mm-hmm. All right, good. Okay, and so just double checking, right? So we no longer sacrifice things, but in lieu of those, and so it ends up that that we end up with the remnant of a morning sacrifice, an afternoon sacrifice, and an evening sacrifice, hence the structure of prayer that happens in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. That's essentially where it comes from. Yes?
How many times a year are they going to Jerusalem to the temple?
Well, so they're not doing that here yet, obviously, but eventually it's all the pilgrimage holidays. That's why they're called pilgrimages, because they had to make the pilgrimage and schlep. It's true. So you're there anyway. So you also have to make sacrifices for Rosh Hashanah, for Yom Kippur, and for the 3 pilgrimage holidays. So they're already there. They might as well stay.
For a herdsman,
Yeah.
I mean, he's giving up a lot of his best animals.
Yeah, for a herdsman, that's what they're doing. They're giving out the best of their animals.
So that's why we spend so much money in the supermarket now, that's all.
That's right. That's why I buy kosher food. No, but just think of the money that you spend on really nice things that you might wear out, right? That you spend more money on the more beautiful dress or the more put together suit or the nicer shoes for when you go out to do something a little nicer. So when you go to do this nicer thing, right? Usually, particularly at the high holidays, people don't show up in shorts and t-shirts, right? Although we are under the robes, you don't know what we're wearing, but yes. So, but you don't do that because you approach it differently, and so they understand that they have to spend money or the best of their. And by the way, if you're a herdsman and you don't bring the best cow of your cows to the temple, who would know? Who knows? Only you know, but then that's the problem you have with yourself and with God, right? So there's another issue. You do, but you're also told to bring your best animal to sacrifice. So again, you don't know what we're doing in terms of the same as with our worship, right? We could be standing here and bowing and praying and sitting, but I don't know what we're thinking, right? Maybe our intentions are completely different. Maybe we're thinking the whole time, oh, please make it end. But I'm bowing and I'm standing and I'm turning like I'm supposed to, but you don't know what's happening inside. So the same thing is true, but I don't know if the herdsmen are bringing the stuff they're supposed to or not. We don't know. You just presume you're asked to, right? You're asked to bring the best. It's not your favorite book. It's interesting. So I'm not allowed to say it's not my favorite book because one of my professors, her name is Adrienne Levine, and it's her favorite book. And so she'll hear me. And then she'll that scene like Fruma Sarah, she'll come to me by night and she'll take me by the neck and she'll sacrifice me, exactly. So Adrienne, if you're listening, I love Leviticus. So yes, she is, yes. So yeah. All right, Fruma Sarah. All right, so there's a barbecue. What else? Who is God speaking to? Okay, who is God speaking to only in this situation? Moses. Very good. Okay, right, because a lot of other Torah portions, who is God speaking to? The people too, right? Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe le'emor, tell the people, blah, blah, blah. This is, God does say that God speaks to Moses saying, but now what? Who are we talking to and only?
Well, commanding Aaron.
The priests, exactly. Okay, so the Israelites don't hear this conversation, right? So, I mean, we get to see this because we're sitting and looking at this text, but if you zoomed in on this moment in time, the Israelites don't know what's going on. They're doing their own thing in their camps, and this is only happening in the small little area that between Moses, Aaron, Eleazar, Itamar, Nadav, and Avihu, right? There are four kids he has. It's Aaron and Moses, and that 5 of them are doing this, and no one else, because it's only for them. So essentially, this portion is only for them. So if you're not a Kohen, which I am not, then this really, at this hypothetically, doesn't interest me because it's not about me. I'm an Israelite. I'm the steerage. I'm at the rest of the Jews, the rest of the Israelites. I'm not a Kohen. I'm not a Levi. Aren't you a Kohen? Yeah. All right. So over here, fancy. Over here, but I'm just an Israelite. So this is you read it. Yeah. So yeah.
He did read it.
Exactly. Yeah, woohoo. Oh, nice. Really? I'm coming over. Oh, all right. I was going to say. My finest cattle for you. So, all right. So, we're only talking to Aaron and his sons. And we're going to say this is the ritual of the burnt offering. The burnt offering itself shall remain where it is all night. So, do we eat this one? How do you know? It says it. It says it. It says that we don't eat this one, right? This one just stays and burns all night. So why do you think that is? Why is this the first thing that we see here? Why is the first burnt offering that we see that's only the conversation for Aaron and his sons? Why do you think that? Why is that the first thing we're really hearing about Tzav in this commandment? This is clearly a command to them. Why? Why do you think so? Yes. Well, yes, Kohen.
Is it possible that this first sacrifice is directed towards them with very specific detail because they're the ones that need to make that sacrifice on behalf of themselves before they make the sacrifices for everybody else? Bring everything towards them?
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. It's almost like the Hineni, right? If we do compare to the high holidays, right? There is a blessing that the Shliach Tzibur does to open up to say, you are the Shliach Tzibur, that I'm going to do this on behalf of myself before I kick this off to even talk to anyone else. And by the way, you shouldn't be incurring any of my stuff, and I'm not incurring any of your stuff. I'm just a representative bringing this to you. So maybe it's true they just have to go through a training, which is the correct answer, essentially, because this week and next week, so shocking, Cantor, is that this week and next week, you went through that training. So yes, you went through Kohen training. They do that in cantorial school. If you're a Kohen, there's a whole separate section. Exactly, yes. So for the next 2 weeks, this week and next week, the whatever will be the Kohanim are going through their checks and balances. Like they're going through how they're supposed to do things so that they know how to do it for everyone else. So this is a good start to just leave it there for them to see how it works, how it sounds, how it smells, how it feels, to really get a sense of what's going on. Okay. Yes.
Aren't they also showing the people, the priests, aren't they showing the people exactly how it's done?
Yeah. I mean, they're also teaching. I mean, and by the way, who's running this? Who's running the teaching? No, who's running the teaching? Moses is running the teaching, which is interesting because he's the one who teaches it eventually to, or passes it to Aaron, even though they're all in the same room hypothetically, because then it's Aaron who takes over. And it's Moses who ordains them as well. Exactly. Right. Which is the coolest thing. Is every time I talk about ordination, I think of mine, and it was probably top 3 greatest moments of my life, probably, was ordination. So probably wedding, kids. I love both kids into children, and then ordination, probably. So it was one of the best moments. Did you love yours? Were you totally like into yours with your class and stuff? Yeah. It's transformative. It was incredible. So, yeah. So that moment is incredible, and it's going to come up. It's going to start to come up this week, and it's going to sort of end for us next week. This ordination. So the ordination process takes place in this week's Torah portion, even though it seems dry, because it's just this sacrifice, that sacrifice. It's ultimately going to turn into this ordination, so that the priests know what they're doing, so that they know how to really transfer this. Now, I want to ask you about it says the burnt offering in English. What is it called in Hebrew? Anyone see in the Hebrew? So it says Vaydaber Na'el Moshe le'emor. That's the first part in the Hebrew, and then it says Tzav et Aharon vet banav. So that's Aaron and his sons. Le'emor zot. Not just, it says ha'olah, but what's even before that? Torat ha'olah. So what is that? Look at that cool Hebrew. It's the teaching or the laws, using the word Torah. Interesting, right? The Torat ha'olah. So these are the laws or the teachings of almost like the sacrificial system. Here are the laws of how this works, essentially. So, and what does olah mean? Yeah, up or elevation. So it's as if the olah is not just the physical of the smoke, because the smoke should go up, no matter what, right, of the sacrifice. But this ascent. What's that thing that we call when you go up to the Torah? An aliyah. So you see, it's all built into the same system, that you are coming upward, that this thing that you're engaging in is supposed to elevate you, which also transfers, right, we said, from sacrifices eventually to worship. So it's supposed to create this elevation for you every time that you're engaging in the process, and that's why it's called an olah or an aliyah or any of those things. That's why when you also move to Israel, you make aliyah, right? You ascend. You're going to the Holy Land, right? You are making that ascent. So all of that comes into this interesting terminology, and I'm going to give you this Hasidic view on the word olah, and it has to do with the higher your moral level, the more humble one should be in your ascent. So the sort of the higher moral level, and they give 3 examples, and you tell me if you like it or not. I didn't write this commentary. So it says, if you're the Kohen Hagadol, if you're Aaron, essentially, if you're Aaron or eventually the next Kohen Hagadol, it says that when you get to worship, which is fast forwarding because they're not worshiping anything yet, but when you get to worship, you need to bow at every single part of prayer. I don't know if you see like how the Amidah works for us. We only bow at certain parts. So according to this commentary, if you're the Kohen Hagadol, you bow at each part of the Amidah. To humble yourself, to sort of bow because you're the Kohen Hagadol. So every time you bow, every time there's an opportunity to bow, you bow. Unlike us, we're only bowing at certain places. Yes. Okay. Yeah, acknowledging. Yeah, it's like, well, it is acknowledging because you are sort of higher up, so then you have to bow more. You have to bow every single time. Now here's the next one in the commentary. If you're the king, you need to remain bowed the whole time. The whole time that you're in worship. Why do you think that is? So the Kohen HaGadol bows at every time at every bow possible, you bow for the Kohen HaGadol. For the king, though, you stay bowed the whole time.
The king ain't the king.
Right, exactly. Because the king, I'll paraphrase Cantor Muchnick Talmudic response. The king ain't the king. Who is the king? God. So if you're the king, you think to yourself, even though, look at me, I'm the king, you're not the king. You're just going to bow the whole time so that you're reminded. And by the way, people also see, and you should be humbled to know that even though I'm wearing the crown, I'm just a guy with a crown and not the King of Kings. Right? What? What I'm saying to you right now is all commentary. Yeah, this is all commentary. And which you can take or leave, by the way, because I didn't write it. If I give you a really good commentary that I wrote, then I won't ask you if you like it or not. I'm just going to tell you it was amazing. But when I don't write them, I'm just going to I'll let you decide if you like it or not. And then the last one is everyone else. So those are the categories. So category 1 is the Kohen HaGadol. The second category is for the king, and the third category is for everyone else. And that is in the bowing that we're supposed to do, which is right at the beginning of the beginning paragraph of the Amidah, the end first paragraph of the Amidah, and then at the section called Modim, which is during Asalin prayer. Those are the only 3 times you're supposed to bow during the Amidah, because we're just regular people, right? We're not the Kohen HaGadol, and we're not the king. We're just regular people. What do you think about this bowing commentary? Do you like it?
So the Kohen Gadol, who needs to be bowing the whole time, is he on his knees?
He's only bowing at the spots that are bowable. If that makes sense. Because hypothetically, during the Amidah, there are spots that seem like you should be bowing, but we don't. We just because it's written in the text that we don't. It's written in the Talmud and all this other stuff that tells us exactly what about. Yes?
On Yom Kippur,
Uh-huh.
on not only the Great Aleinu, but there is a section that the Reform movement doesn't do. It's called the Veha Kohanim, and it's 3 segments, and in it, it's a long part of the service that takes about 45 minutes in and of itself. And each time there is a full, just like the Great Aleinu, is a full bow down to the prostrating yourself in the Kohanim, and it's just something we skip because it's resembling of the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. We didn't want to spoil the surprise. We're adding it this year for the but we're going to wait to mention it just before we start it. So you're in on it. Don't tell anyone else. But we're going to do it just before we're going to tell you we're adding 45 extra minutes to the service for everyone, and everyone's just going to get out of their chairs, and we're all going to just bow to the ground for 45 minutes. So yeah.
Is that when you and Cantor kind of eat over Rosh Hashanah? Kind of like lay down on the ground?
That's the Great Aleinu.
Yeah, which is a percentage of this, which is the idea that it's the prostrating on the congregational, because the leaders of the congregation are supposed to do that on behalf of the congregation, and in the bowing, right? Because particularly for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, should be no vanity. There should be nothing that we're thinking about except for repenting and community and reflecting and tzedakah and prayer and all those things, right? So yeah, 1, 2.
Why is it that when you do the Grand Aleinu during the high holidays, that you don't invite those who wish to join in? You do? Or you don't? I don't remember that.
Everyone can.
Anyone can.
Anyone can.
I do it every year.
Yeah.
You just try doing it like, in a row.
Yeah, it's hard next to your neighbor. Yeah, it's hard to be like, excuse me, Fred, I'm just going to lay down here on the floor for a second while I'm. Well, It's fine. It's true. You could lay across other people. You could ask them first, though. Yes.
I would think that the Kohen Gadol and the king's bowing would be reversed.
Ah.
That they would to be bowing all the time would be more humbling, perhaps, than just bowing
At the bowable spots.
bowable spots.
The bowable spots. Yeah, it's interesting. So it's a great question. I think the king one makes sense because it's to remind the king the whole time he's not the king, right? So, but for the Kohen HaGadol, it's also interesting that they could also be bowing down the whole time because they are called the Kohen HaGadol, and just for you to remind yourself that you're not that great. I mean, you're just a guy who happens to be in the line of the Kohanim.
But there are limitations to the Kohen Gadol, so like the Kohen Gadol, his head would, get to the same status as the king might were.
Right. However, if we had time to talk about this, which we don't, because we're going to end Torah study in about 3 minutes, is the idea of you fast forwarding to the Sadducees, who are the Kohanim, who are further around the Second Temple time, and to that comment, some people say that they got very big heads because because ultimately, in that system, no one could do anything. You're in charge, yeah. No one could do anything without you, right? So that system was based on the temple, the sacrifice, so those two things were fine. The temple was standing. The sacrifice people brought, because it was because it starts here. So hundreds of years. Think of it originates here in the text, and it goes all the way until 70 CE. So all the way, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So, but it's at that point that the priests realize you can't do anything without me. Nothing. You can't. The religion can't function without me, with the priests. And so some say that's when some of the trouble was going down, and that's why one of the reasons why they think the temple and the temple period was in trouble, because the Sadducees were so full of themselves, because they thought we've done this and we're in charge for eternity, and you can't do a single thing without us, which is true, by the way. But you should bow each time, or maybe in your example, which is a good question, maybe they should bow all the time to remind themselves that you're not that great. But it took several hundred years for them to get to that point. And that's when the Pharisees flip, right? Because the Sadducees fail, and then the Pharisees take over, and the Pharisees become the rabbis, and then the whole rabbinic system starts. That's when the Mishnah gets written, and the Talmud, and all that stuff. But we don't have time for that. Yes, Dr. Bob. Oh, sorry. You follow up?
No, another question.
Okay, so we'll come back. All right.
I have a question. Typically, this type of verbiage that starts, it says God spoke to Moses saying, speak to the people.
Yes.
Speak or instruct. Here it's command.
Yes.
Why this one? Is there more importance to this one? That it should be command?
Yeah, I think that's, first of all, that's a great point. No one's speaking here, right? Well, I mean, God is speaking to Moses, but then Moses is then going through the command through God as the filter to say, because this can't be, so this is also probably a foreshadow to what's also going to happen next week. Because what God is saying here is, I'm commanding you. I'm not speaking to you. I'm not asking you. I'm not suggesting this to you. I'm commanding you to follow the system that I'm telling you.
There are other things that are not commanded. They're just spoken.
Correct. But I think that this is a reiteration of the level of importance of how this sacrificial system is going to work, and I'm commanding you to follow the exact way that I'm going to do it. And by the way, that doesn't get followed next week, and next week the people who don't follow it get in real trouble, right? So I think that's a great point you're making, because God isn't saying I'm speaking, because if you're saying speaking, it leaves a little window for people to interpret. No interpretation here. This is how the sacrifices work. God says, I'm commanding you. You're going to follow the rules. and you're going to follow the rules all the way and through until I tell you. All the way clearly. And then this is very serious. Yeah, this is this very, very, very serious stuff, which is why next week is so complicated, which is why Shmini is such a complicated section because of Nadav and Avihu. I'm not giving anything away because it's the same piece of text from last year, and the same piece of text we're going to look at next year. But I think that everything, I think if you sat through Tzav really carefully with a fine-tooth comb, almost everything is there on a setup that gets you to Shmini, because Shmini is a reiteration of the fact that God says, I'm not messing around here. This is the rule system that I'm creating for you, and you're going to follow it exactly as I tell you. So, yeah, 1 and then 2.
Looking a little bit ahead, we see that the priests are supposed to take the ashes outside of the community to a holy place.
Yes.
Is this the basis of the, I think it's Geniza, where we bury the books?
Maybe. I guess I haven't thought of that necessarily, but it wouldn't shock me if that was the holy place that you would put discarded items, and that maybe the evolution of that would turn into a Geniza concept. That's very nice. That's 2 for you. That is 2. That is going to go right on the transcript for HUC. We're going to put it right on there for you. It's very going to go. Yeah. What? You read ahead? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Automatically, it tells us that they're going to be broken. And I think it sets it up not just as a 30,000-foot view of watching it as it happens, but it's to teach us, here's the rules, here's what happens when they're broken, to teach us today how to act. So I think
Excellent.
automatically, when given the rules, it then pairs us with how to use the future.
Yes. Excellent. Yes. Which is also interesting to set up the fact that it's very clear at the beginning that it's a commandment. Right? I'm not asking. I'm not saying, if you feel like it, you should sacrifice some stuff. God isn't saying that. God's saying, no. It's tzav. I'm commanding you to do it. Which also, thank you, reminds us that all these texts are not linear, right? We're not following a timeline. Everything kind of bounces back and forth in more of a circle motion when we look at Jewish text, because it's not a linear document. It doesn't work that way. So the main point that I guess I want to just make as we conclude is this idea of the word olah, the idea that the sacrifice wasn't simply a sacrifice; it was an elevation for us. And so on this Shabbat, I hope we find these ways that elevate. And to touch back onto your point is that Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel are the three big prophets are going to be screaming their heads off at us, because they're going to be saying, I don't want your sacrifices. Your sacrifices are meaningless because all you're doing is taking an animal, giving it onto the fire, and nothing in your intent is connecting to it. I don't want that garbage. And so that's what the prophets are saying. They're screaming and saying, if you're going to show up and actually show up, then great. If you're going to olah, if you're going to lift yourself in this moment, if you're going to sit here and pray and really think about what you're saying, then do it. If you're just going to sit here and go through the motions and bring me a piece of a carcass to throw on some fire, then I don't want your garbage. Yeah.
I was just going to say that even the weeks before this, we start learning about God's desire for us to bring jewelry and gold.
Yeah.
But it has to be brought with intent as well. It's almost like that baby step towards this.
Yeah. Yeah. All from Truma, right? That idea that when you bring the donation, don't just here, to take it. It has to be from a place of, I actually want to contribute. I actually want to make a difference. It's actually from my heart.
God doesn't want it.
Yeah, I don't want it. Yeah, God says, I don't want your garbage. I don't want your haphazardy throw it, just get through. God doesn't want that. God wants us to be authentic. So,
How did the Orthodox people interpret
So the Orthodox interpret it. They have barbecues all the time. It's true, except for on Shabbat, with the fire, probably. Yeah. So it's interesting. I've talked to my stepbrothers who are ultra Orthodox, and I asked them, how do you keep the kavanah, a daily kavanah? How do you every morning feel the modeh ani when you wake up? How do you do it every single morning? And it's tough. You have to dig. You have to dig deep every morning to realize what you're doing. You have to be. How often do we wake up and think to ourselves, boy, am I thankful? I am thankful that I woke up. I'm thankful that that my body works, right? It's a conversation we have with our camp kids, but usually the first thing you do when you get up is you pee, right? So your body's working. Like, how thankful am I that I woke up, I got out of bed, I walked over to the bathroom, right? This part worked. Now I can eat something. Now I can, right? So how many times do we just we're just bloop, 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 bloop. We just take for granted these things. And so it's interesting how you maintain. So when ultra-Orthodox people we are, I guess we're a little luckier because, or that we really are engaged in this really once or twice a week or on holidays, because the Reform movement does that. But on a daily basis, it's really tough to maintain that intent, of that olah, that idea of lifting ourselves up, as opposed to just another day, just getting through it. So I hope that your day is filled with elevation and not just getting through it. It is, but it's hard though. It's easy to say. It's hard to do. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I do too sometimes, but sometimes you're also in a rush or you're in a hurry or whatever. You don't think about it. But you're supposed to think about it. That's why, by the way, prayer is so good, because prayer is supposed to slow you down and think, okay, let me reflect on this for a minute, which is also why you're supposed to say something before you eat. You're supposed to say something after you eat. You're supposed to remind yourself that don't take for granted all the systems that are functioning and the fact that you can do that. So it's a brilliant, authentic braking system for us that sometimes we don't utilize so well. Not speaking for myself, not speaking for everyone. Maybe everyone's able to do it. I find it challenging. Speaking of elevating, we can elevate our thoughts and think of those in our community who might be in need of healing, of physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. Is there people on there? Two. Okay. We'll start with you guys. Do you have any names you'd like to share from Misha Berach?
Anyone online who wants to share a name?
Berta Kent, Barbara Seidman, Ryan Seidman.
Francie Craven, Frank Natal.
משבח אבותינו ואמותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך את החולים, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחלימם ולפותם להחזיקם, וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, השתה בגלה בזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the blessed Holy One be filled with compassion, for their health be restored and their strength be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, as together we say, Amen. We're going to return the Torah to the Ark now, 256 in our Sidurim, and together we stand.
Yehallelu et Shem Adonai ki niskav shemo levado hodo al eretz v'shamayim vayarem keren le'amo tehila lechol chasidav livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Eitz chaim hi lama chazikim ba v'tomcheha me'ushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadesh chadesh yameinu chadesh yameinu kekedem. Quick announcements. Passover is coming. Really quickly. So our Siyum service, that is, if you would like to partake in a morning service, it's traditional, right, for firstborns to fast on Erev of Pesach, on the day of Erev Pesach. So if you wish to not fast and you wish to partake in a Siyum service, you're welcome to join us. It's at 10 a.m. in this very room on Wednesday morning. It's a very quick service. It's maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes. The idea of a Siyum service is to have a Siyum. You're supposed to complete a piece of text. So I'm going to bring a piece of text for us to complete it. And then we can call it a Siyum service. So you're welcome to join us for that. That's on Wednesday morning, Wednesday night. We hope you all have lovely Sdarim at your homes or at family or friends. If you do not have a place for Seder, or you know someone who doesn't have a place for Seder, please let us know, because we are, speaking of commandments, commanded to make sure that we have, everyone has a place for Seder. So if you don't have a place for Seder, let us know. We will make sure that that's taken care of. That's on Wednesday night. Thursday morning at 10 a.m. in this very room will be our first day festival service with Hallel, and we'll shake the lulav. Just kidding. I just want to see if you're paying attention. So we'll do that. We'll throw matzah at each other instead. It'll be great. And so that's going to be on Thursday morning. Thursday night is second night Seder, and we have a communal Seder here at Congregation B'nai Israel. If you'd like to come to second night Seder, there are still some spots. It's a delicious full course, all kosher for Passover meal made by VIP caterers, so you're welcome to join us for that too. There are still spots. We'll be there. It's really kind of a fun Seder. It's not a very heavy Seder. We're light and fun, and we go through. It's only about 5 hours. I'm just kidding. It's really good, and it's delicious because you have to finish. You have to finish before midnight. That's true. And so and then on the whatever the last day is, I don't know the date, but there'll be another festival service at 10 a.m. and that'll be with Hallel and Yizkor on the seventh day of Pesach. All this, by the way, is on the website, so you don't have to remember anything that I'm saying, but it's all on the website. And then the beach Shabbat is a week from yesterday. So a week from yesterday is the beach Shabbat. It is on the corner of A1A and Atlantic Avenue. So you're going to head east on Atlantic all the way till you get to the water. You're going to make a right. You're going to go north, and then it's going to be somewhere right there. We're not sure exactly where it's going to be, but it's going to be somewhere in that vicinity. A right is south.
A right is south. Sorry, you're going to go south. Yes. Sorry, you're going to go south. You're going to go south. Yes. Your other north. That's true. Your other north. And then it's going to be on the right somewhere. That's usually where it is. And we'll have a little sign or a balloon.
It'll be on your left.
It'll be on your left because that's where the water is. That's where the water. It's not going to. I don't think it's going to be in the pavilion. I think it's going to be just on the sand, but just around it. We're not going to be that far.
If you want to go to Rabbi's, you'll be in the parking lot.
Yeah. It's make a right, and the beach will be on the left because that's where the beach is. Because there'll be water and sand there. Okay. And Cantor has a course coming up, so there are not that many slots left. So I believe there are only 10 slots left for his class. So if you haven't registered for Cantor's class about music, dance, and painting, you should join in. He's having a finger painting dance class. That's not what it is. It's about music and inspirational other stuff. And it's a 3-part series.
Music, prayer, and meditation.
There you go. Aleinu, 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגאור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ולמודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Transition our thoughts now to Kaddish Yatom, to mourners Kaddish. We think in the period of Shiva, the 7-day mourning period of Eva Silvers, in the period of Shloshim, the immediate 30-day mourning period of Dr. Herbert M. Fitchman, Carolyn Spiegel, and Edna Roberts. And our yortzais that occur for this week, Henry Roth, Lori Weissman, Simon Chrysler, Concetta Pecoraro, Solomon Wexler, Eugene Fox, Betty Mickler, Whitus, Sidney Kemper, Sarah Makoff, Abraham Rich, Arnold Chaplik, Herman Karnowski, Isidore Rich, Sheila Israel, Iris Simon, Herbert Cohen, Rudolph Weiner, Kate Freeman, Bert Marcus, Sophie Rich, Mary Austin, Marcia Fisher, Gerald Zaneski, Stephen Sack, Arthur Softer, and Burton Rubin. To those names, we had any name you'd like to add?
Maury Rudnick.
Kaddish Yatom 294. Yikadal v'yikadash me'rabah ba'alma divrach cheruteh ve'amlich malchuteh v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabah mevorach le'olam ulmei olmaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'a v'yitomam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. As together we say amen. Please be seated. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו Amen. Adonai oz lamo yiten. Adonai varech et amo v'shalom. May God give strength unto our people. Continue to bless us with hope and strength and love and peace. Shabbat shalom, everybody.